If you accept yourself as you are, then you realize that someone else taking advantage of you is about them and it has nothing to do with you and who you are. Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to What's the Point? This is the fourth episode where we discuss the book The Courage to be Disliked. I'm really getting to the core of it, so if you haven't seen episode 1, 2 and 3, please go check that out. Let's get straight into this. We left off where the youth and the philosopher were discussing the concept of separation of tasks. In case you just joined in this episode, I'll just quickly fill you on what that is. Now, the separation of tasks is nothing but the idea that you do what is your task and what the other person does is up to them. For example, believing in someone and having faith in them, that is your task. But now if they act in accordance with the trust that you've put in them, that's their task and their problem. Another example is, let's say you really like someone and you want to be their friend. So being nice to them and showing that you're willing to be their friend and all of that, that's your task. But after that, the way they see you, the way what they think about you, that's their problem, that's their task. If they choose to reciprocate, that's their task. So that's what the separation of tasks is. Now, this fourth part starts off with the youth saying that, the separation of task nonsense doesn't seem realistic. It's basically an idea that's saying that I am me and you are you. It's so self-centered and could lead to a very isolated and lonely life. The philosopher says, okay, wait, let's first understand the goal of these interpersonal relationships that we have. The entire goal of these relationships with other people is to have this feeling of belonging, having a feeling like it's okay to be here. The philosopher asks youth, okay, according to you, who is a self-centered person? Youth says that it's maybe someone who just thinks about themselves, can't work in a group, and like someone who just can't be bothered. The philosopher says, okay, yeah, that's true, but also people who are obsessed with the desire for recognition, right? Because think about it, when you're obsessed with the desire to be recognized by others, you're actually only thinking about what they think about you. So you're still self-obsessed. Even though it looks like you're thinking about other people, you're still only looking at yourself. And then this whole phenomenon is called the attachment to self. Basically, your concern to be thought of as well by others isn't concern for others. You're only concerned about what they think about you, which means you're concerned for yourself. And that is called attachment to the self. Youth is like, okay, yeah, maybe I do care about how others see me. And okay, I am self-centered then. But is it such a bad thing to be self-centered? Because let's say my life is a movie. I am the main character of my life. The philosopher says that, see, wanting a sense of belonging is a very normal human desire. Be it at school, in your workplace, with someone you love. It's very normal and it's okay to have this. However, people who are only concerned for themselves think that they are the center of the world, and somehow they think the whole world revolves around them and everyone is doing things for them. But the truth is that other people aren't living to satisfy your expectations. So when your such heightened and false expectations shatter, you see other people as your enemies, and then you see the world as a very hostile place. Basically, all of us are searching for this community feeling that it's okay to be here, and the only way that you can get this community feeling is by actively contributing to the lives of others. Instead of thinking what can this person give me, start thinking what can I give this person. So oddly enough, your sense of belonging comes from doing things for others. It's very simple, because when we feel that we're beneficial to the community in some way, that is when you truly feel worthy. But now the youth argues that if the idea that I am of use to someone is the only thing that makes you feel worthy, are you saying that people who are of no use to other people, realistically, they don't have any value in the world? For example, babies or old people. The philosopher says that you're looking at people on a very shallow basis, on a surface level of acts. You also need to look at people on a level of being. Some people's very existence brings someone joy. By being alive, they're supporting someone else's psychological state. Someone who's very close to you is in the hospital, then them just being is actively contributing to your sanity and your psychological state. So even if they're not doing something, their existence is contributing to you. He tells the philosopher that, okay, you're saying that I need to stop being attached to myself and I need to switch to the concern for others. I agree that being concerned for others is important, but no matter what, don't we always worry about ourselves? Like, it's so natural. It's not even like I'm full of myself, but I just hate who I am and I'm very, very self-conscious, which is why I worry about myself. The philosopher now asks him, okay, tell me, why do you feel so self-conscious? Youth says, okay, so for example, if there's a meeting at work, I feel conscious to raise my hand. I think about, 5 times before like even saying something, because I'm thinking about what other people will think about me. My self-consciousness just kicks in and doesn't let me be who I am. It doesn't allow me to behave like myself. And I know what you'll say. You'll say that I just don't have the courage to do it and I should have the courage, but it's of no use. Your theory is of no use to me. The philosopher says, okay, calm down. Let's think of this from Adlerian psychology. What goal could you have by putting the brakes on who you really are? Like, what goal could you have by not being yourself? as you say. Youth says that I just don't want to be laughed at, I don't want to be made fun of. The philosopher says, so basically you don't have confidence in your unfiltered self, in who you are. So therefore, you stay away from interpersonal relationships where you can be yourself. I bet that at home, when you're in your bathroom or you're chilling by yourself, you're singing, dancing, and you can act freely. And it's only in front of others that you have this problem. Youth is like, yeah, that's true, that when I'm by myself I can just relax and be who I want, but in front of others I simply can't. Then the philosopher says, so the issue is not that you can't be yourself. The issue is not a lack of ability. It's a matter of courage. You can't be yourself in front of others. Youth is like, yeah, I guess, but what do? I just don't have this courage. Philosopher says that this goes back to the community feeling thing that we were discussing. There are 3 things that you need right now. 1 is self-acceptance, number 2 is confidence in others, and number 3 is contribution to others. Now, self-acceptance is accepting yourself as you are right now. Now, youth says that does this mean doing self-affirmations and just being like, I love who I am and all that nonsense? Philosopher's like, no, not self-affirming, self-acceptance. You're not thinking that I can do it or I am strong, and you're not like saying things that aren't true. You're just accepting who you are. For example, if you get like 60% marks in a test, don't think that, okay, I got 60% this time and the real me is capable of getting 100%. Think, okay, fine, I got 60%. What can I do now to get 100%? It all goes back to where we started, that you can't change what you were born with, but you can change the way you use this equipment. Basically, just accept this you as you are and also have the courage to change what you can about yourself. Now, after you switch from this attachment to self to concern for others, the second element comes in, which is confidence in others. Youth asks, like, does confidence in others mean just believing in others? The philosopher now says that, see, trust and confidence are 2 separate things. Trust is very conditional. It's like, for example, how a bank works. Banks give loans to people based on the fact that they know they can pay them back. And trust also is like having conditional trust on someone if they can do something. But confidence is very, very unconditional. According to Adlerian psychology, interpersonal relationships are based on confidence and not on trust. Confidence is basically believing in others even if you currently don't have any objective reason to believe in them. Youth just says that, bro, this is stupid. If you act like this and just blindly believe in people, you're going to be walked over, you're going to be taken advantage of. Philosopher says, yeah, true, some people will take advantage of your confidence in them, but that's those people, that's not you. But continuing to believe in people despite such instances is what confidence is. Because if you place doubt at the very center of all your relationships, what kind of relationship could ever stem from that? And what happens is that when you place doubt in all these relationships, the other person immediately detects the doubt in your eyes, and then they're like, okay, this person doesn't trust me anyways. Do you think this kind of an impression could ever result in a positive relationship? And I think I used to do this a lot, where I wouldn't just trust people, and it would come across that, okay, this girl is a bit like, held back and restrained. And since I've read this, I'm like, oh wow, I feel seen. And I've been trying to change this when it comes to my relationships with people. The philosopher says to think of it in terms of the separation of tasks. You're not the one who decides whether you will be taken advantage of or not. That is the other person's task. If you're afraid to have this confidence in others, you will be unable to ever build like deep relationships with people. Youth says, but if you do this, people will just walk all over you and it's not going to work out. Philosopher says, but if they walk all over you, then it's a fake relationship anyways. It would remain that superficial. And why would you want to maintain such a relationship? Then you can just sever ties with that person, because that is your task. It says, okay, that makes sense. But how do you have the courage to not be taken advantage of? Like, philosopher says that it all comes from self-acceptance. If you accept yourself as you are, then you realize that someone else taking advantage of you is about them and it's their task, and it has nothing to do with you and who you are. And youth says what you're saying makes sense, but again, you're just like negating human emotions. It hurts when someone takes advantage of you, and that pain is real. Philosophers like, no, I'm not saying don't be sad. When you're sad, be sad to your heart's content. You're not meant to ignore your emotions, but you can always choose whether to believe in others or doubt others, and let that be a conscious choice to believe in others. The whole goal of this is to see other people as your friends and your comrades, and if you see the world that way, it's just a much more pleasant world to live in. Youth is now confused a little with all these terms and says, so basically what we're looking for as humans is this community feeling, and in order to get this community feeling, we need to accept ourselves and have confidence in others. Is that correct? The philosopher says yes, exactly. And there's also one last piece, and that is contribution to others. The philosopher says that we become truly aware of our worth only when we feel like we've actively of use to someone. The whole I am of use to someone thing that we call the community feeling is actually for ourselves. The philosopher ends by saying that, just to be clear, I'm not saying that everyone in the world is a nice person and like every relationship will work out when you have this confidence in people. You will go through some unpleasant experiences, but don't confuse everyone being bad for one person's action, and don't generalize like people being bad. If there are 10 people, there is going to be one who will always criticize everything that you do. There'll be 2 people who will love what you do, and there will be 7 people who are just indifferent and neutral. It's your choice. Are you focusing on this one person who hates you, 2 people who love you, or the crowd who just doesn't care about you? A lot of my friends have seen this, that they go through one bad breakup or one guy like does them wrong and that's like guys suck and boys are evil. Like, touch wood, I mean, I know what they went through was bad, but again, you're not meant to generalize based on something, on one experience, is what I would say, and what the philosopher says and what the book says. But this is when the philosopher and the youth take their final break and come back for the 5th night, and that is something which I will cover in the next episode. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you think of everything we discussed in the comments below. If you're watching this on Spotify, you can let me know what you think on DM, on Instagram, and I will see you guys next time.